Yorker. It's been bad enough over the years to have to listen to these callers on the New Jersey line. But listening to these callers on that new Connecticut line has been absolutely ridiculous.
Really?
Yes, it has been. Bob, this is the same bunch of losers who probably tune into these stupid 4-hour Yankee games that are always preempting your show because Connecticut doesn't have a baseball team they can go out to see.
Well, let me say this. A good citizen of Connecticut would be a Boston Red Sox fan. That's what they should be, Boston Red Sox fans.
As well as a good citizen of New York. But, Bob, these people, ball players, wouldn't even want to play in front of those idiots. And Connecticut, I mean, I'd have to think that a good 50% of the people there can't even spell the state's name.
Well, that second C fools everybody. But how do you pronounce it with the second C?
Connecticut.
Very good.
Bob.
Do you like nutmeg?
Bob, really, the only good thing I can think about the state of Connecticut is the fact that they do have that huge nuclear submarine base there. And maybe one day one of those subs shoot off a missile and take the whole
I've never heard such antagonism towards a neighboring state. What did they do to you? Well, and after all, Lowell Weiker's finally leaving, so you can't complain about him.
Well, if he gets on a bus with Mario Cuomo, then I guess we'd have no complaints with the state of Connecticut.
All right. I thank you for the call, Tony.
All right, Bob.
All right. How do you like that? I wonder what happened to him in Connecticut. What happened in Connecticut, Tony? All right, let's say hello to Lisa checking in on the line on WABC. Hello, Lisa.
Hey, Bob, I'm calling from Connecticut, and I resent what he's saying about us. We're hardworking people up here. Who does he think he is?
Well, that told him you gave it to him real good.
Hey, but you know what? Did you hear about the guns for goods here, how they wanted the taxpayers now to pay because they had no more money to give to the people? They were going to try to put a tax in for us to pay. Can you believe that? Is that crazy? They're swapping the guns. They don't have anything to give to them, and then they want to take it out of the taxpayers' money.
I know.
I can't believe it.
Well, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Pete, what's on your mind?
Mr. Grant, a great pleasure and honor to speak with you, sir.
Are you calling from California?
I am.
Where in California?
A little town named Lafayette. It's about 30 miles east of San Francisco and separated from it by enough water and hills that it's tolerable.
Well, don't publicize it too much because you might have a lot of undesirables moving in on you.
There's not that much room here for them.
Okay.
We're built out. I wanted to talk to you about the Arkin scandal. You know, I get terribly, terribly tired of hearing Democrats and liberals and progressives and whatever the heck else they're calling themselves these days defending as they can the president by saying that, after all, these crimes, if any, were not committed while he is in the White House. And I just wonder how they can sell that perspective when they look at themselves in the mirror in the morning. I mean, if the president committed a murder, and I certainly am not alleging that he did or anything like that, but if he committed a murder, why would it matter that subsequent to that and before getting caught, he got elected to something?
Well, I think that during the 1992 campaign, he gave 6 or 7 different versions as to how he beat the draft. He never really told exactly the same story twice. And, of course, that brings to mind that old adage, the truth is easy to tell, a lie never the same. But the fact is, people said, well, so what if he beat the draft in 1968? I said, well, we could argue that point, but let's put that aside right now. Let's talk about the way he's conducting himself now in the obvious lies he's telling. Because when you change the story each time, there's got to be a reason, right?
That's, of course, true, but...
So what I'm driving at is this. He can't just dismiss it as something that he did in 78, 79, or whenever. The fact of the matter is he's not being forthcoming. Obstruction of justice is what really brings a lot of people, gets a lot of politicians in trouble, not what they did to want to obstruct justice in the first place.
Well, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, I think, is much more serious, and that's this. We are always told by those of you folks who are in the media that the First Amendment is if not our most important amendment, certainly among our most important, and, if you will, holiest. But I wonder what's being done with it when we hear that Michael Isikoff, a gentleman whose liberal credentials have certainly been well established in his coverage of, for example, Bill Bennett when he was drug czar. There were a number of critical things said about him by Mr. Isikoff at that time. Mr. Isikoff, being a reporter for the Washington Post, when his story on Paula Jones and the other alleged bimbos is spiked by the Washington Post, as we hear.
Well, you know, he was suspended for 2 weeks, you know.
Well, that's what I read, and I am just absolutely appalled that the publication that saw fit to castigate in amazingly partisan.
You know, the only problem I have with the Paula Corbin Jones story.
What's that? I don't know.
What is she waiting for to file her charges? Why is she? You know, May 8th, statute of limitations runs out, and Bill Clinton is off the hook. But if her allegations are true, and there are affidavits supporting them, witnesses supporting them, and the background of the person she's accusing, very well known. So there's good reason to believe that she's telling the truth.
Mr. Grant,
why in heaven's name is she not making that an official filing? I don't understand that.
My question goes to the heart of that. And what we have heard in the case of, for example, Clarence Thomas and Bob Packwood and a number of other sexual harassment or rape type of offenses, as alleged, is that the alleged victim is terribly embarrassed. And
well, wait a minute, if she were that embarrassed, she wouldn't have come out verbally. I'm sorry to interrupt, Pete, but if she's that embarrassed, why did she even make the statement in the first place? I'm talking about filing the necessary papers. That's what I'm talking about.
But remember what we are dealing with. We are dealing with those folks on the left who have said right along that the reason that such allegations are very often not made in the first place is because of extreme embarrassment. And then when the allegation does get made, they are saying, why is it she didn't come forward before? They want it both ways on every issue.
Well, whether they want it both ways on every issue or not, if she's telling the truth, and I do happen to believe the story, but that's neither here nor there. If she's telling the truth, then by all means, she should follow through. I don't know what her attorney, Mr. Traylor, is waiting for, but he should file those papers. And May 8th will be here before you know, as a matter of fact, a month from today. So file the papers, for heaven's sake. Thank you very much, Pete.
Thank you.
Okay, this portion brought to you now by, ladies and gentlemen, Channel Neighbor to Neighbor since 1908.
Think about the great taste.
The Ford, Taurus, and Mercury showroom only at Manhattan Ford Lincoln Mercury. Hurry in today for the best selection. For more information, look for their ad in today's New York Post. Manhattan Ford Lincoln Mercury, West 57th Street, 11th Avenue. Telephone 212-581-7800. Showroom open weekdays from 9 a.m. till 8 p.m., Saturdays till 5 p.m. Free parking. Tax and tags extra. Vehicles with 21,712 to 28,900 rental miles. All right, Lou, you're on WABC. Hello. Are you there, Lou?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, I want to commend you on your monologue. You were right on the money. I didn't know Thurgood Marshall was the standard that we judge all Supreme Court justices by. And
well, according to the Times, that's the standard. That's the mold that any black should fit. You see, Clarence Thomas can't be Clarence Thomas. He's got to be Thurgood Marshall #2.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah.
That truly is. But that's really not the reason I called. I heard yesterday that the state of New Jersey had taken some kind of a survey. And over the last 5 years, the #1 growth industry in the state of New Jersey was, are you ready for this? Government.
Yeah, well, that's true.
It doesn't surprise me because His Highness Jim Florio was at the helm for 4 of those 5 years. But I was wondering if you cared to comment on this and if you felt that this might change with Christy Whitman or if this was more of a local...
No, she's trying. Now, 2 things. You just raised a very good point there, the second thing you said. She's trying to decrease the weight of government on our backs. And that is part of her campaign pledge. That was part of her campaign pledge, to cut taxes and cut it by cutting government. So I do believe that Christy Whitman is a very unusual politician, a politician who meant what she said and intends to carry out her promise.
Well,
That's
she
number one.
seems like a class act.
That's number one. Number two, it isn't just what Flim Flam Florio has left as a legacy. And Flim Flam Florio is a typical Democrat who believes in big government, growing government, government intruding in your lives, high taxes, big spending, you know, the traditional Democrat litany. But it wasn't just him. It was all those leeches on a municipal and county level. I mean, do you think these freeholders are friends of the taxpayer? For the most part,
Absolutely
they're not.
Absolutely not.
You think these city mayors are friends of the taxpayer?
Well, I grew up in Hudson County, so I'm well versed in bloated government.
All right.
Exactly.
And they get away with it. They get away with it, especially where there's one party in power, as Hudson County has been, as Essex County has been. The only way we combat, even to an extent, this proliferation is to have a viable two-party system. And WABC listeners receive special discounts off regular prices. So get that brochure, get those discounts, and join me.
This is the most listened to AM radio station in New York, Long Island, and the USA.
WABC, New York.
It's 5 o'clock.
From ABC News,
Good afternoon. It's 57 and sunny at 5:04. I'm Tom Martin. WABC News brought to you this hour by the Claridge Casino Hotel, Atlantic City, because smaller is friendlier. Well, New York City is losing another schools chancellor. Ramon Cortina says he's out.
Master Outlet. I'm Steve Dallas from the Metro Traffic Control Center.
Bob Grant. Talk Radio 77, WABC.
All right, round 3 of our get-together on WABC, the Bob Grant Show. And from Emerson, as in Emerson, New Jersey, here's Earl. Hello, Earl.
Hi, Bob. I'm a local listener to your show, and I'm well aware of your biased Republican agenda. And it seems to me that now you're on national TV. You're having Dick Armey on. You're having Bob Dole on. You're having all the big guns. I think for the sake of the country, why don't you have some Democrats on, and let's listen to some intelligent debate. Seems to me that those who you have had on, like Dole and Army, seem to forget that this Whitewater thing happened 20 years ago. I didn't hear their voices during Bush and Reagan years, during the Iran-Contra, where those administrations were putting all kinds of obstacles in the way of the special prosecutor.
Well, if they put in obstacles, then how in heaven's name did Dan Inouye have all those hearings? As a matter of fact, they were so outrageous in their hearings, that's how Ollie North beat the rap, because they had testimony on television in the Select Committee. Did you forget?
No,
Lee Hamilton from the House, Dan Inouye from the Senate, and a group that was trying to make something out of it. So you're the one who's really a hypocrite. And let me tell you something else. This is the Bob Grant Show,
That's
pal.
right.
It's the Bob Grant Show.
That's right.
And I'm interviewing Dick Armey. I'm interviewing Bob Dole for very good reasons. The fact that I agree with their political philosophy has absolutely nothing to do with it. And let me tell you something else. If there was a decision made by all the people in the media, all the television networks, all of the public television people, all the people in electronic media, we'll leave the print out of it, to try to have what is called equivalency or equal time, then that would mean guys like me on the right would be on uninterrupted until the year 2041.
You don't think that these Whitewater hearings would be political?
I think that everything is political, pal.
You don't think?
I think that. Did you hear me?
Yes, I did.
All right. Thank you.